Welcome back to another episode of Questions with Crocker with me, Dr. Crocker, my husband, Shane.
I feel like we've done 47 of these in the last 30 minutes.
You have.
We did one this morning. It's just we're in Vegas and we are feeling the effects of Vegas. So we also have the delightful Dr. Molly Brinkmann here. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
And we are on day 3, I think, of Western Veterinary Conference.
What? I don't even know what day it is.
It is a blur.
Yeah.
We've had a blast. Good CE, good friends.
Yes.
And I am podcasting in my hotel room, which
I love it.
sounds a little creepy when everyone asks, where are we doing
Welcome
this?
to my hotel room.
Yeah. I'm like, come to my room. That doesn't sound awkward at all. So we are excited to be here and actually get to talk in person.
Yeah.
That is why this is great. And Questions with Crocker is based on the fact that people send us questions, and I also just get to pick the brains of fellow veterinarians that I love and adore. So first off, I want you just to introduce yourself. Where do you work? Where are you from? And
Okay.
I'll probably expand on that because
Yes.
you probably will leave things out. So.
Okay. My name is Dr. Molly Brinkmann, and I am a small animal general practice veterinarian. I am the medical director of Beecham Animal Hospital, which is in Franklin, Tennessee, close to Nashville.
It's nice.
It's nice. It's a great place.
It is.
I grew up there, and it has changed a lot, but it's kind of like a bougie place
Mhm.
for people to move to.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wants to live in Franklin. So, so I practice there. I have a family. I have 2 kiddos, so 4-year-old boy and 2-year-old girl, and I do social media.
You do. So do social media. She is Dr. Molly Says.
Yes.
And I discovered you on social media because you are hilarious. And I get jealous of funny people. I'll be real honest. Like Shane is really funny, just naturally. I have to work hard sometimes to be
you're
funny.
too.
But you are hilarious and you go for it. And you do really great videos that are based off of breeds of dogs responding to different situations. And you've obviously have other content, but that was what really caused you to start to grow and like get out there. So I want to know how that idea came about and really in general, why you jumped on social media and why you enjoy it.
So I started doing it as an educational thing.
We all do.
Right?
We're
We're
like,
like, oh, we're going to educate
I'm
the
going to
masses.
teach. Yes.
I'm going to change the perspective of the people.
Uh-huh.
So that was the original thought. And when I like distinctly remember having a conversation with one of my really good friends, like, I think I'm going to make a page for like vet education for pet parents. You know, there's like nobody doing that, which I had no idea there were lots of people doing that already.
I still think it's a very small number
It's
in our
niche.
industry.
Yeah.
Yes. But there are some of us. Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I'm just going to do it. So I made a TikTok, which I knew nothing about. It was like what the children were doing. But I was like, I'll get on the TikTok. So I made a TikTok and did some stuff, and it was fine. Like I had some followers. And then I was at a new job, and it was kind of slow because it was a new practice. And I don't know.
You had time.
My brain is insane. So I just one day started thinking about, what would be really funny is if I sort of translated dog breed behaviors into human behaviors. So like, what would this dog breed do if they were a human in a certain situation? And I have this kind of empty medical facility. So how would a dog breed act as a human at the doctor's office?
Right.
So that was like how it hatched. And then I thought about it for a long time because I was like, am I really?
Were you scared? Like,
and
were
when you
you
explain that to your husband, he's like, yeah, that's a great idea. You gotta
You know what?
jump
He
on
is
top of
like,
that.
he's used, he's used to it. He's like, okay.
Are you referencing?
No, I'm just,
I'm
just asking for a friend.
I feel like this is
Yeah. I mean, he's used to my like crazy ideas. So he's so great. He's like, okay, yeah, sure. That sounds great, Molly.
Yeah.
Like, let me know when it happens.
exactly.
No, I definitely like molded over for a while, let it kind of develop. And did feel like people are going to think I'm ridiculous. Is this professional?
Oh, yeah.
That whole social media question. But I did it and it went viral.
And it's great.
It's fun. It's funny.
It did go viral and you continued to do it and make it better and better and put them in scenarios that like Thanksgiving and like the hayride. I mean, when you're jumping off the hayride like a border collie and like running, and I was just like, this is amazing. Because it's so relatable.
Yeah.
And that is the whole point. And everyone who has any types of these breeds of dogs is like, that's my dog. And so that's really all social media needs to be, is entertaining and relatable. And then you can throw in education because you're also showing a Frenchie they can't breathe, and you're showing issues that are common in some of these breeds. So there is still a component of education.
Yeah, for sure.
But
and
it
the
is a lot
initial
of it.
fear of, is this professional? What are people going to say? Is any of that like come to fruition, or is it really like nobody?
Oh, well, there's of course like
Oh, there's always
mean
the
people
haters.
online who
Yeah.
I've been doing that, I'm a whatever, of course I blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So I've done a couple breeds and I did the doodles. And so the doodle people are kind of coming at me right now, which is fine. Like
they're
I
like
totally
rabid.
expect it.
Yes.
Yeah, they're very passionate about
They are.
defending doodles. But yeah, so like currently there are multiple comments under that video.
But from a fellow like veterinarians.
Oh, yeah.
Do you feel like for the most part, like you're at a conference, has anyone been like, oh, you do those breed videos? Or are you getting like, oh my gosh, you're hilarious?
Yeah,
I love it.
And you have to, there's the phrase, you have to laugh, either you laugh or you'll cry,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I think people in vet med just get it. Like you have to be light about some things.
You do.
Or it's just all too heavy.
You do. And I think that there's people, like I've seen pet owners in your comments say, oh my gosh, I want to come to you. I want to bring my pet to you. You look like you're such a great veterinarian. And so it's the flip side where people find you trustworthy and they think like, I can go to you and I can talk about whatever and I can do what I need to do for my pet, versus someone who's very buttoned up and you don't really know who they are and they don't show their personality.
Yeah. And I kind of have been not surprised by that, but it's like super encouraging.
Mm-hmm.
There's a dentist on social media. I don't know if you've seen him. He's a pediatric dentist, I think.
There's a couple, like the dental world on social media.
It's wild.
There's some great.
In a great way. But there's this guy and he just shows up on my page, but a lot of his thing is about, he doesn't wear scrubs. He doesn't wear a white coat. He just wears regular clothes and just is like cool and normal and relatable.
And the kids like to go there.
Yeah. And
he has like basketball hoops in the dental office.
Yeah.
And I think that we have changed into veterinary medicine a lot, but we are still stuck in the past in so many ways also. And when you really talk about like private versus corporate practices, one of the ways you can define who you are is by showing your personality on social media and by not even having to be the shiniest, newest practice. But there's some great veterinary accounts that even I have a lot of older practitioners that say like, I don't even know how to use the Instagram, And I'm like, well, it's Instagram, not the Instagram. But,
I probably say that, the Instagram.
But they have some young technicians who have made some great videos where the older practitioner is just there, but they're funny and they're a little dry and it's all run by their team, but you just get this sense that they really enjoy each other. And I think that is important for our industry.
Yeah. And I hear that too. Like I try to show clinic life, what it's like working in a day to day. Me and Chris. So we have I have Aaron.
Aaron. We all have a bearded man, balding technician.
A bald
like
bearded
that
man.
is
What is that?
Sorry, Aaron. Contact HR immediately with this.
Aaron's
Aaron
cool though,
goes-
right? Like
Aaron
Chris. Chris is cool. He laughs about it.
Aaron got recognized in town the other day from a video and he was like, this was awesome. And I'm like, yes, I got him hooked now. Like he wants to make the videos with me.
It's literally the same because Chris does not have social media. His wife does. She works with us too.
Yes.
But like the last couple of weeks, he's like, do I need to make an Instagram? And I'm like, yes, you do.
Yes. Like show what you do. Show
He's
your
the
personality.
one that, yells beep for the dental x-ray machine. And
I love
people
it.
message me, they're like, we need more Chris content.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's coming. But yeah, people comment like, oh my gosh, I would do anything to come work with you, which like they probably shouldn't because it is crazy. But, they see like, oh, vet med can be fun and it can be positive and encouraging.
And we're real people.
Which
I think helps. You're still always going to have difficult clients. You're going to have difficult situations. But I think I have a lot more people that will sometimes say like, I didn't realize how hard the job is. I didn't realize how much you guys actually do. And so bringing awareness to that is a lot of what we're doing. And then we get to meet each other in life and it's great. So a couple things. I do know you work at a general practice, you're the medical director, but you have goals to be a practice owner. And I want to know a little bit more about why.
Sure.
And are you thinking that's going to happen eventually? Is there a plan? Because a lot of people say, I want to be a practice owner, but there's no concrete plan. And we've kind of talked about this. So where are you at in the process?
Sure. So I have had a lot of jobs in veterinary medicine in my 9 years now of practicing. So I was actually talking to Dr. Staten last night about this. I have seen so many different ways to do small animal vet med. I've been in lots of different practices, but have the whole time had the eventual goal of owning a practice. And so every job I've gone into it, like with the lens of maybe I could own this practice, buy this practice, or I'm going to learn what I want a practice that's mine to look like being here.
Right.
So I've learned a lot of things I do want to do and a lot of things I don't want to do.
It's like us building a house.
We lived in a lot of houses.
You get a few tries.
We lived in 7 houses in like, I don't even know, 12 years or something. So it was a lot.
I hate moving.
Yeah. But now we built and we're good now.
You're good now. Yeah. So this is my 6th job in veterinary medicine. So yes, practice ownership is still my goal. Beecham Animal Hospital where I work now is a cool full circle place because I was an assistant there. I guess it's been 15 years before vet school for a year full time. So I worked there. The doctor that owns it now worked there then. He bought it a few years ago. And a year and a half ago, I was practicing in Nashville. It's in Franklin, which is just south. And he called me and was like, okay, it's time. Like, are you ready to come back?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I am not making another move until it's like toward ownership. And he's like, okay, well, perfect, because
that's what I want.
That's what I want, is to have someone to succeed my ownership, because he doesn't want to do it forever necessarily. And so I am in a leadership position, and the plan is for eventual buy-in, maybe gradual, maybe all together. None of that is like.
But I like how you were like, this is what I want, and you put it out there. Shane often used to tell me, because I did a couple different jobs too, and I would come home and maybe gripe a little bit about like, this decision was made or this is happening, and like, I really think it should be done this way. And he finally looked at me and he's like, listen, you either need to.
I was not that aggressive.
No,
listen.
That's right.
He maybe said it, honey. No, he said, you either need to stay where you are, and you need to understand you're not an owner. You have no real control. You need to show up and do your job and leave, and just, it is what it is. Or you need to leave and you need to make what you want. And I was like, that is so valid, because I wasn't going to change anything where I was.
Right.
And my frustration, I loved the people I worked with. I loved what I was doing, but my frustration was in the way things are run and not being able to change it. And then I remember when I bought my practice, and I was standing there and I was talking to a couple people, and I was like, it might be nice if like we thought about doing it this way and da-da-da. And one of them looked at me and they said, you're the owner. You can do whatever you want to do. And I was like, I was like a kid in a candy store. I'm like, oh my God.
Light bulb.
Yes. Yeah. And it just was this realization of like, I can finally look at something and say, we can do that better.
Yeah.
And we can actually do it. And it was very empowering. And having a team that supported that made a difference. Yeah. But I think you either have an owner personality or you don't.
And it can change, but it is, I like literally, I've had some really good friends and my husband, we've had this conversation with me of stop griping, because you either like, you're never going to be happy unless you have some type of influence in what's happening. And so that's what you need to focus on, is getting to that point.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard for people and young vets who know they want to do that to be somewhere and not have the control or the ability to make those decisions. It's really hard to do what you just said and just be there. I'm a doctor here. I'm going to just do that. And I think that's kind of like a litmus test for younger like newer vets. Like, do I want to be a practice owner or not? Well, how do you feel as not a practice owner?
Right.
Like if you feel some angst,
frustration,
that probably means you should consider that.
Yeah. And there's a lot of paths to practice ownership now.
Yeah.
Because you can start a practice, you can buy a practice, you can now partner with certain corporations and they will help you buy a practice. So to me, there's really you can't do it.
Yeah.
I think there's so many different pathways.
Yeah.
And we bought an old building and are renovating. You are in an older building also.
You have seen it in person.
I have seen it.
Yes.
Wonderful vibes, but very similar to mine, where it feels a little like, and dark and just not as bright and light and all the things that we want.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have some goals long term of things you would like to do and change, or is that really long term?
No, it's not really long term. And my boss wants a lot of the same things. And so it's been great because he's kind of a unicorn. He's like, come help change things and lead the way. So I've had some of that ability as not an owner, which is really cool.
Yes.
And so I've only been there just over a year now, and we've made huge changes. Our staff is the ones that have hung on and are still there are amazing because they've just been on the ride, adapted so well. Because in a year they went from all paper records to no paper records. I told Adam, I said, the first day I work, I will not write on paper. So we will be paperless the first day I see patients. And so I worked for a month setting up their paperless system and not seeing patients. And then we did that, and we've changed a lot of medical just kind of protocols and we've added layers of leadership and just logistics, and we're getting a new Schultz phone system in a month.
Yes.
And
I love that system.
Yeah. And so, it's been a ton of change already. And the building we're cramped. We're out of space, and it is dated and a maze and dark. And so all that, we're figuring out the best way to fix it.
I do think it's interesting though, because of your social media, you kind of came on board with that. So was there a conversation where you said hey, this is something I'm doing? Because I don't know if he was aware of it or not when he called you.
Well, he is not on social media.
Right.
So he was not aware.
But you have to have your boss say yes, you can film. Yes, you can do stuff.
100%.
Totally fine with that. So was that a conversation, or were you just kind of and this is part of the package?
No. Well, we hadn't talked in a long time. So he just kind of was like, hey, how are you? What are you doing?
Yeah.
What do you know?
I'm acting like a golden retriever on.
And he was someone who was not on social media. Yeah. So he was like, what are you talking about? So that was a funny conversation. But no, I was very upfront about it a lot because the job I was at was not very cool about it. It had actually been a real struggle. And so.
Which is so strange. Almost free marketing for the company.
It is.
Why do they not
100% free marketing for the company?
Yeah.
That it was, I think there were a lot of factors at play. It was interesting because it was a new practice that was not super busy.
I was going to say they would benefit from marketing, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If you are doing it for free on social media.
Yeah.
Not no shade. Obviously we don't have to say who that was, but
but it was odd. I thought it was odd. It was just interesting.
Do you feel your new boss was just kind of sure, just do whatever? Or do you feel he's seen the benefit of it since you started and since you were doing more?
Well, when I told him, because I was nervous about it because of my experience.
Right.
Because I went viral or whatever you want to say.
It's viral. It's okay.
I went viral.
You did great.
While I was at that practice. And so that was my only experience, and it was negative. And so Ryan and I was oh, he said he's fine with it, but does he really know? What if I come and then he's
not?
Because it changed at the last job. They were cool at first, and then they weren't cool about it.
Yeah.
And so, but Adam was like, oh, I don't care. You do whatever.
He's I don't even know what you're talking about.
But I think he did realize, he was like, I don't do social media, but I know it's powerful.
Good.
He's like, we don't have social media, but we should have it if you're coming. And so we're also working on that. I cannot run 2 social media, so somebody else is going to have to run the clinic page. But yeah, it's been great. He does not care.
That's good.
And I told him, I said, look, I'm going to make content at work. I will work as hard, if not harder, than any other doctor that's there. I will be productive. It will not take away
from what I'm doing,
or my professionalism with our clients or my care of my patients. So I was like, I assure you, it will not take away from any of that. And he's like, okay, great. As long as that's the case, I don't care.
Yeah.
And I film stuff when we're closed sometimes. My best friend actually works at our practice now. She's never worked in vet med, and she is like my behind the scenes hype girl, and she helps film and create ideas and
all the things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So
I love it. Mm-hmm. I love it. I remember when I started kind of doing more and thinking about it, and Shane and I, he's good about like touching base. And I feel like your husband's the same way of like, okay, you have a lot going on, but basically saying like, what is the goal?
Yeah.
Like you're doing all these things, but is there a goal? Like obviously I love being creative. I love having fun with it. The connections and the networking has been incredible through it. But it was good to sit and say like, yes, I enjoy this, but is there a goal with it? And through it, partnerships have happened and I've learned a lot, and it's opened doors for more speaking and, brand awareness. So it has definitely been worth it. And I think even owning our own hospital, having my own account has helped with that also. Yeah. So, but it's good, I think, for people that are thinking about doing more social media. It's fun to put content out. It's fun to be creative, but it is a lot of work.
Yeah.
And there does need to be some intention behind it other than just, I want to see my followers grow.
Yeah.
Because they could all go away tomorrow. So my thing is, what would I be left with if it was gone from all that hard work?
Totally. Yeah. And it's a lot more time, I think, than most people.
Yes.
Like if you don't do it, you just really don't realize
how much it is.
Realize how much time.
It is easier for me to go just be in surgery all day than to do social media.
Yes.
But I enjoy both. So, okay. So we had some questions submitted for you specifically.
Okay.
It was
I'm
funny.
Nervous.
No. It's fun. I think it's good because it's a reflection of all the different content that you have on here. So
my content's a little ADD.
So actually, that was one of the questions.
Oh gosh!
And you talk about that.
What meds are you on specifically?
I'm very open about it.
No.
I'm not surprised.
That's what. So at Jamil Darling, which he's so nice,
Dr. Jamil. Yeah.
Yes, Dr. I can't say his name. I feel bad, but he wanted to know what are your ADD, ADHD hacks for being a veterinarian. Because we do need to be efficient. And I will tell you, we've recently had some like family personal things with ADHD. And it is definitely a real thing. And it is something that can very much affect the way you function. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts.
Yeah. So I have had... My parents were aware that I had ADD as a child, but I functioned pretty well. Well in school. And so I've had conversations with my mom, like, because I've never taken medication for ADD. And my mom was like, yeah, we chose not to do that because your room was a huge mess at all times. My poor mother. But she's like, you did well in school. It didn't really affect that. And so we're going to not do that unless you needed it for school or whatever. So anyway, I have been dealing with it.
Adapting.
Yes. Yeah. Which like when I went to college, I actually had to study for the first time. I couldn't just rely on, whatever skills. And so that was an adjustment for sure. And I think that made it harder. And in practice, it has been interesting. I'll never forget when I was on community practice in vet school on that rotation where at UT, they have a community practice for students. And so it's kind of like general practice. And I remember at the end, I had a great rotation. Like I loved it. And Amy, the doctor that was reviewing me, she put part of her feedback was my recommendation for you in practice, because we are similar, is to make yourself lists because you can't keep up.
Yeah.
You need to make yourself a list.
Yeah.
And so I was like, yeah, okay. But I'm too ADD to make a list. So, I just have to figure out, I'm really good in the moment. Like if I'm busy, I can multitask like the best of them.
Right.
Like if I can run 4 rooms, if I have enough techs, I can do it. It's like charting, like records, sitting and like doing the more busy work that is hard for me. And so I've had to figure out just the best ways, the tools to make it efficient and the least amount of actual busy work.
Right.
So I'm still figuring that out. Like I'm currently I need to get on my computer and catch up on some medical records. But I
Do
think
you use templates?
Yeah.
Have you thought about using like Scribe, dictation software, any of that?
Yeah, so I have just started using some of that. So ScribeNote is an app I've been trying. That's AI, so it records your conversation with the client and your staff, and it is, how do it know? It's so smart. And then it makes like a medical record out of it. And we use Cornerstone at our practice, and I've made a lot of templates for my medical records where I know how I say things over and over again. And so it's just there. And if I need to change it, I can. So I think like pre-made templates are really important for people like me who have a hard time with those tasks.
Yeah.
And I like to send clients emails like discharges and lots of communication. And so I just have to make myself, when I'm typing one, remember, save that as a template for the next client that needs that.
Yeah.
But I do make lists. Not always, but lists do help me.
Do you see yourself forgetting things sometimes though? Like, I know you said you don't take medication. Like, have you ever thought about, if I did, how much more efficient could I be?
Yeah, I do think about that.
Like, because it's hard to know. It's hard to know. We've dealt with medication in our family, and we saw it was like a huge difference. And I struggled with like, do we do that or not? So,
and there's nothing like there's nothing
so
wrong with
different
it
for everyone. Yeah,
it's great.
And we say this all the time, we're not experts. So like, we're not experts on ADD, ADHD.
Right. No,
it's personal experience. But our jobs are very task oriented. They're very detail oriented. And so I struggle, and I can't even imagine if you like have a hard time with that, you know, how hard that could make it. So,
and I overcommit too. So like,
what?
Find that hard to believe.
No way. But I mean, like in day-to-day little practice ways, like I'll be, my texts, I mean, they're saints, but I'll be like chatting with a client. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll send you this and this and this. And like, I'll call you tomorrow to check on that.
Yeah.
And my really good texts are back there like making me a list, because they're like, oh, she'll forget to do that if I don't write this down or send her a reminder a callback in Cornerstone. Dr. Brinkmann, you promised this client you would do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think people like having staff that really knows you, and they appreciate you for your flaws too. And you recognize, this is my weakness and I need someone to help me with it. Yeah. Not a personal assistant, but just someone who's aware.
Yeah. Well, there's actually a lot of conversations right now about like neurodiversity in vet med, and the fact that a lot of people do have those things. And so letting the team know, being open with leadership, and that way, people don't look at it as like, you don't ever get your records done. Like, people are a little more understanding of why and how they can help. And like, you are able to voice like what you need to. Yeah. So I think it's an interesting conversation to be had. And I love how open you are with it, because a lot of people, it seems like, are like, yep, I'm right there with you.
And I'm sure there's like a connection, intelligent people who are, you know, high functioning and do these hard jobs, scientific things.
Right.
I think that's why it's very common for there to be neurodiversity, because that's who is doing this higher level of thinking and education and all of that.
I love how you're like, I got to college and I had to start studying. And I'm like,
what? I got to organic chemistry. And I was like,
what is it?
It's another language.
I was the same way. I was like, huh? What just happened? So it definitely, we talk about that a lot with pre-vet students and recommendations. I'm like, you have to learn how to study, and you have to learn what works before vet school.
Yeah, because like for me, college was like one new level. And I thought that was bad.
And then vet school.
When I got to vet school, I'm like, okay, maybe I need medication.
I need help. I need more lists. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
That's funny. So Shane is here, and Shane kind of knows like,
hi Shane, we haven't talked to you.
I'm here.
Sorry. Hi.
No, but he knows like my crazy and like how I take on a lot of things. And you just said like I overcommit. So what is your process, and is your husband involved in kind of the discussions around opportunity, around things, around you being a practice owner? Like, how supportive is he? Does he ever say like, what about this? Or is he just a good sounding board? What's your relationship like with that?
Yeah, I mean, like kind of all of the above. It just depends. my husband Ryan and I could not be more different, like
Mhm.
personality wise. So we're very, opposites attract, and also a lot of times work well together because I'm like this crazy, like squirrel,
Uh-huh.
what am I going to do next?
Uh-huh.
Always thinking about what could we do? And he's much more of a like a realist, not
Yeah.
a pessimist,
Downer.
but just
No, I'm joking.
no, it's not. But you can't if we were both like this,
Yes.
it would I don't know what would happen. So he is a sounding board. So I have a tendency to just do and
Mhm.
not use a sounding board.
I always say Shane helps me actually get it done. So
Yeah.
he is like more of a great idea, but like how?
Yeah.
And what do you need to get that done? Where I'm just like, but it's a great idea.
Yeah.
And I don't think through
Yeah.
the actual, process.
Oh, for sure.
And so it is nice to have someone who is more of a, let me actually think through this.
Well, and it's like when social media, when all of this started, Ryan was kind of like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
this is becoming like a lot of time. Where are we going with this?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's good. Yeah. Cause you need someone to like, okay, let's check in. Like, what's happening? What are we doing? But no, I mean, he's such a great support. He teaches high school. And so my kids go to school with him. There's actually a childcare for the teachers. And so they go to school with him. So he takes kids to school. He brings kids home from school and is home with them in the summer. And so he just is like amazing support and dad. And that's
my kids like my husband more than me. Like they're like, he's fun.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
he's there and he's doing the things. And I think it's great. And it is traditional in some ways and not traditional in others.
Yeah.
And I think it's good to just know what each other needs and when
Yeah.
you need it and like communicate all that. So
And like it's marriage. We're always trying to figure it out, right?
How long have y'all been married?
10 years, 11 this summer.
And were you married before you went to vet school or?
We got married between second and third year.
Nice.
My mother planned my wedding. I was like, I will see you there.
You're like, I'll show up
Yeah.
and wear a dress.
Yeah.
Did you have a conversation about like, I'm going to be a veterinarian? Because
And by conversation, did you warn him? Like,
No. I mean, we had been together forever. So Ryan and I dated for 5 years.
oh, well.
okay.
And then we were engaged for like a year and a half before we got married. So we were together a long time before we actually got married. And Ryan, he actually worked in the NFL first, and then he went back to school to be a teacher. And so one of us had to get out of school
Yeah.
because somebody had to, pay rent.
Make some money. Yeah.
Mhm. And so we had to wait till he got done with school. So he knew, I think,
Ish.
he didn't know what he was signing up for, but
Yeah.
I mean, I had, he knew I was going to go to vet school the whole time. And but really, neither of us knew what that looked like.
What did 100%
as a career,
Yeah.
really.
Well, and you went into equine also.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is a whole nother podcast. but
Because
yeah.
we both are, horse girls.
Mhm.
And I think that's like a certain personality also. Is he a horse person at all? Because Shane almost got killed by my
I feel like I should marry Ron instead.
Y'all really have to get together.
Yeah, exactly.
No, Ryan did not like grow up a horse person. I had a horse. The first time I took him to like meet my horse, I let him get on and he bucked him off. And,
Mhm.
I had to like,
Did he
emergency
almost get
dismount.
stitches from watching the horse when you were out of town?
Listen, you tied the horse wrong. He pulled off
it's your fault.
the railroad track. You almost died, yes, but you didn't. So like he called me. He's like, so this thing happened. I'm like, what happened?
Yeah, no, that would be right. That sounds like something that would happen with Ryan. No, funny story. Ryan, no, he did not grow up in any type of rural, like agricultural setting. And so, I mean, like fishing, that kind of stuff, but not horses or cows. And so, yes, I moved him to Colorado and was doing an equine surgical internship. We lived in this house that was like smaller than this hotel room that was like 10 feet from the barn, the treatment barn. And, we were talking about the other day, he would get up if we were dumping a colon in colic surgery. Joanna would be like, go get Ryan. So I go wake Ryan up and he'd have to come like help us.
Has he
surgery.
been shoulder deep in a horse vagina?
Just say. Ryan did not also get his hand stuck in a horse bladder. No.
Yeah. I was working at a repro facility. And so Shane came to visit me. And there was a really big foal. And I was like, I need your...
and so you really did.
And so
you got in there.
He got in there.
I love that.
I love stuff on my hands and I love being dirty.
He hates getting dirty. And there's juices everywhere. And he's just like pulling. And I was like, do not let go of this leg, because I was trying to get everything in position. And he was just like, what is happening? And I remember I looked over at him and there's like, you know, baby horse legs and stuff. And I was like, man, this guy loves me. Like he's doing this right now.
It's like, okay.
He's in it.
We're going to make it.
Yeah, we're going to be okay no matter what, because we are doing this.
This is actually a PSA for any future partners of veterinary med people.
Yeah, warning.
Yeah.
But then the baby foal was born. And
it was cool, right? Because
cool.
you were part of it.
And it was like...
He's like, no,
I looked over at him and he was like a little emotional. Like that was,
Yeah, because I was emotional for a lot of reasons. The baby horse was not one of the reasons.
But we made it. We made it.
Yeah. Yeah. So Ryan got lots of exposure to all of that when we lived in Colorado. So that was cool.
That's
for
very
him.
cool. And those are some of the, for me, those are some of the memories, honestly, like internship, just the two of us, like before kids, where we were just like in things together. We had like no money. Yes. And we were just working and like supporting each other.
Yeah. And we moved to a new place where we didn't know anyone and it was just us. And we always talk about how that was like so great for our marriage because we just did this thing together.
Yeah.
And no one else was there with us and nobody else in our life now like was there. And so it's like our own thing. Yeah.
Now I'm like, how did I survive life without all
And we
people?
actually talked about that. We were in California saying we didn't know anybody and trying to figure out, okay, where do we go next? And we contemplated Colorado and a few other places, but I can't imagine not being around family at this stage.
Yeah. And that's why we left to come back and be with family.
Yeah. The life stage that you go through, and we've talked about this too, but like it dictates very much, I think, where you go, where you work. And it's good to recognize like, okay, now we need more support. Now we need to be somewhere. And I know you have family, you have your church, like you have a lot of people that you feel very supported by, and having kids, it's helpful too. So I think that is one big thing. Another thing I want to know is, you still seem to really love what you do.
Is this a question from you or somebody else?
This is me. This is me.
He's like, get back on track.
I mean, we're just talking now. No, but you still seem to really like love what you do. And I'm the same way. And it's been a while. And there's a lot of people in this profession that say they actually regret becoming a veterinarian and they wish they hadn't, which it makes me so sad. This is a lot of work to put into something to then like not love it. Why do you think you still love it? Do you think there's anything specific, or is it just part of your DNA?
Well, I definitely think it's like part of my DNA. Why am I getting emotional?
I don't know. I get the same way.
I love what I do. And I think it's going back to my ADD. I think part of that has something to do with why this is like the perfect job for me, because it's always different. You never know. You never know what's going to happen no matter what you do. I don't care. GP, emergency, research, always. You just never know, right? And so it's always something cool and fun and funny and hilarious and terrible and sad and infuriating, but it's all growth. Like you learn so much from all the things you go through as a veterinarian. And I think, it makes me sad that people struggle, not because I think there's something wrong with them and they shouldn't struggle. I just wish I could like give everyone like the joy that veterinary medicine gives me. Because I do think it's like the greatest profession, which is Dr. Shudo's podcast. Yeah. But I really believe that. Yeah. And that's part of what I would love to impart on people, not just pet parents, but like veterinarians. Like this can be such a wonderful job. And I just wish I could help everyone figure out how to make it feel wonderful for them.
I think people haven't always found their place yet. And when you find your place and it's different for everyone and you find your people, it makes a huge difference. And one of the worst things we can do is have all the feelings and not reach out and not connect. Because even, you know, through social media, yes, we're silly. Yes, we do things, but like you are a true friend and we met through that. Right. And I know if I have a hard day, Shane is there. Shane loves me. He's a support, but he sometimes still doesn't like get it. And so being able to like talk to somebody who like truly gets how ugly and how beautiful it can be is really life-changing sometimes. So
we're crying.
I know. We're getting emotional because there's a lot.
Yeah.
But I just want people, if they're listening to this, to not feel alone and to feel like they can reach out and to feel like they can find their place.
Yeah. And it's not all good. Like it's not at all. And that is something, and I don't do it enough. I probably should do it more, but like something I want to portray is that it's beautifully sad. And like, it's like euthanasia. Like I want to write a book of just euthanasia stories because like it is terrible and wonderful and peaceful and agonizing and hard and easy all at the same time. And that's kind of how all of vet med is. And it's like no one gets it.
No.
So question on euthanasia specifically. Yeah. So in the renovation, we're doing a comfort room.
Yes,
and I know that helps. Helps a lot with the patients, right? And the owners. Does that also help with the veterinarians to see it go, I don't know, more smoothly or,
I think, yeah.
I like having a space that is like a calm space and it doesn't feel like an exam room. So I like having it where you can sit with the pet and there's a couch, or you can even like have smells in there that are soothing, and you can dim the lights. And to me, it is a better experience than a maybe feeling more sterile, cold, hospital type situation. So I think so. Personally.
I also like, and I have worked at a practice with a great comfort room, whatever you call it. And I like that even if it's not in a separate place, like even if it's in the middle of the practice, it doesn't feel like it. And usually it is quieter, because I hate feeling like, because we're cramped. And so we have to do euthanasias in just an exam room. You can hear everything, like just the world around is just going on. Yeah. And in some ways it's like reflective of grief. Like you are in this terrible situation and just like, but like the world spins madly on. And it's just nice to provide like a safe, quiet, isolated space where that is all that's happening in the client's world and in you as the veterinarian's world in that moment. And so the lack of distraction, I think, is what's really important about that.
Yeah, that was definitely a priority with the renovation. And I think one of the main things people say to you when you say I'm a veterinarian is they say like, well, I could never. And I love the idea of really pulling back the curtain on what the euthanasia experience should be and the closure it can provide and the ease of suffering. I mean, it is a really important part of our job that is also so unique to our job that it's not something that people just get easily. So I like how we've gone from talking about silly dog breed.
This whole thing's ADD.
I know. I'm sorry.
No,
you signed up for it.
Great. To talking about humane euthanasia, but we could talk all day and we can't. We need to get to the conference. We need to go network. Yes. So we are going to wrap things up.
Okay.
Is there any final words?
Question.
Yeah, that was question with Crocker.
I don't care.
That was a question with Crocker.
Questions are the worst.
We'll just do another session.
Listen, you had Crocker, you had questions.
Yeah.
Like we filled the brief. So if you enjoyed this podcast, make sure to listen to us on Apple or Spotify. Leave us a rating, hopefully a good one. Give us feedback.
We pay for good reviews.
I'm sorry for this roller coaster.
No, you're good. And then if people want to reach out to you, what is the best way to connect with you?
So you can find me at Dr. Molly Says on TikTok and Instagram. And if you need to reach out by email, it is there in both places.
I love that. Thank you for being here. Shane, thank you for being here.
I have no other choice.
Feed you.
Shane was just kind of an audience here today. Thank you, Shane.
At least now you can meet your BFF, Ryan, one day.
Right.
Yes.
We'll be good. So.
Double date.
We'll exchange war stories.
Maybe we should do all four of us on a podcast.
Oh, that would be even more ADD.
Yeah.
But
questions with cup.
It'd be fun. Oh, that's cute. All right. Don't steal our idea. So
yeah. NDA.
All right, you guys. Thank you so much for listening and have a wonderful day.